or professionally I go by Christopher Charles McDaniel. But when I was 10, my grandma adopted me, and so then I was like, I'm gonna add Charles to my name because they were gonna change it to Jackson, which is her last name. But I wanted a middle name.
So you've heard the story about how Christopher Charles McDaniel became Christopher Charles McDaniel. And we're here with him today at the Dance Theater of Harlem on the eve of their 50th anniversary season.
Correct.
Which is going to be at City Center, April 11th, 13th, and 14th?
Well, 10th. We have our gala on April 10th, and then we don't have a show on the 11th, but we have the 12th, and then we have 2 performances on the 13th.
Yeah, I almost messed this up. That's why it's good that you know.
Yeah.
And then I have to say this, and you told me earlier, and that's the best way to put it. You are a DTH baby.
I am.
You were raised or reared in East Harlem.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Born, raised, and reared.
Yeah.
In East Harlem, and this was the first place you studied.
Yeah. The first time I ever saw ballet was Dance Theater of Harlem. So I was like 8 years old, and our school went on a school field trip. And we went to Aaron Davis Hall and saw the company do a lecture demonstration. So after that was when I went to our assistant principal and was like, I really want to go to that school. And so she's like, well, you know, maybe if you bring your grades up, I can call them and set up an audition for you. So I guess she thought it was like some challenge that like wasn't going to go anywhere, but I was like, oh, okay, like, let's do this. So I just miraculously pulled it together and was like a good kid. And so she followed through and she set up an audition. And I came here and auditioned. And then I got a full scholarship to start in 2001. But I didn't start until 2002. I'm pretty sure, you know, with everything happening with 9/11 and all of that kind of stuff, it just wasn't the right timing. But yeah, so I was taking the bus up here by myself. My grandma brought me up here one time and then was like, you know how to get on the M101, here's your Metro card, here's your car fare, make it happen. Right. You know, I always make sure I tell people this. I didn't know that white people did ballet. And people think I'm crazy when they say that, they think I'm making it up. But I had literally, growing up in East Harlem, I had never seen ballet, so I didn't know what it was until I saw Dance Theater of Harlem. So then I get to the Dance Theater of Harlem school, and it wasn't until I was really trying to understand why Mr. Mitchell was so, you know, like iconic, because I immediately was just like, drinking the Kool-Aid when I met him. It was just like, I need to please this man all the time, like as a kid. So, you know, once I was able to like start using the internet and stuff, and I was like, oh, New York City Ballet, okay, what's that? Oh, white people do this too. So, fabulous. I know, and the first ballerina I ever knew of or met was Andrea Long. So my experience is very different from most dancers of color who were the only one in the beginning of their careers. Eventually, I went to schools or a company or wherever where I was the only African American, but I didn't have that start. So I was wonderful. Always used to seeing the rainbow of colors with tights and shoes matching and different experiences. I was right in my senior year. I just turned 17, and I was like a senior, and everybody was like, you know, looking into the picking colleges and stuff, and I had already decided I don't want to go to school. And so I was like, well, you know, I need to really make a splash coming out of, you know, LaGuardia, because everyone was going to, you know, Juilliard or Purchase or, you know, conservatory here or there or whatever. And so I was like, well, I need to graduate with a job, and like, but I knew that I always wanted to dance for DTH, but at that point the company was still on hiatus. So I remember just like calling up here and asking to speak to Mr. Mitchell, which like normally you don't do, but I felt really comfortable with him, and so I remember talking to him on the phone, and he's like, all right, well, if you're ready, I'll call Keith and tell him to email you, and we'll set something up and see how you look. And I was like, okay. So I came up and did the audition, and then they gave me a contract. So I did 2 full seasons with the ensemble, and then at the end of the 2009 like calendar year, we got news that Mr. Mitchell was retiring, and that Virginia was coming in as artistic director, and so she started January of 2010. So we were then in another transition. So for me, I was kind of feeling like I was reaching a point where I was dancing well, I was finally becoming a better partner. I felt like my little like noodly, gangy, boy body was becoming manly, and I was like at a point where I wanted to do more. So I reached out to Los Angeles Ballet, and I sent them a YouTube link, and they sent me a contract.
Isn't that great?
Thanks, Colleen. So yeah, it worked out nicely.
Great? That's great.
Yeah, and I was there for 5 years.
So by the time you came back to dance theater, you came back in
2017.
So you've been here 2 years.
Yeah, this is my second season. Yeah, it's amazing because our rep is so eclectic where like you just are kind of thrown into a little bit of everything. But I don't know, they have a really amazing way of not so much making you pay your dues, but there's just a sort of, I don't know what's the word, it's like a rite of passage in a way. You come back, you're not coming in as like this star, even though, like right after LA Ballet, I went to Ballet San Antonio where I was dancing as a soloist. So I was used to doing principal and soloist roles and, that whole thing.
And the mentality that goes with that,
yeah.
It's very different.
It's very different.
More responsibility.
Right, you have more responsibility, you have more, you're held at a different standard, like people are looking at you in a certain way. So to come back and be, pretty much told that you're just doing ensemble or core parts is kind of, you take a hit a little bit, your pride takes a hit. But for me, I kind of looked at it differently. It was like, so much of this was going to be new. This was the first time I'm actually in the DTH company. It's the first time I was going to be going to Europe. It was the first time dancing a lot of these ballets. So it was all new. So it made sense that I was coming in a new dancer spot, sort of. And yeah, so I paid my dues. And so now I'm given more opportunity. And I think Virginia's really smart in that she sees who she can rely on and who's focused and who's working in the back and who can pick something up really quickly and just go for it. When I joined to go to Europe, there were 6 ballets I had to learn in like a 2-week span. And for a lot of people that seems like, a really difficult thing. But Mr. Mitchell told me when I was a kid that you have to be the fastest learner in the room. You just have to. You're small and people are just gonna rely on you to do one thing and that's smile and jump. So you have to be able to do something else. I'm so grateful that I got to work with him last summer where he saw me as me. Because at this point in my career, I've just become me and I'm not trying to be the next person, the next this or that. I'm just like, hey, I'm Christopher, how y'all doing? So.
Or Christopher Charles.
Christopher Charles, of course.
Let's not forget. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a great season. You know what I love about if you get a chance out there, the 10th is the opening night.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to come to the gala, what I'm looking forward to, you're doing a lot of retrospective things. And then you're bringing back a little bit of Louis Johnson.
Oh my God, it's so exciting. It's like, for me, like I said, DTH baby, so it's like heaven. We have, so there's Mother Popcorn, there are excerpts from Firebird, excerpts from Creole Giselle, an excerpt from Louis Johnson's Forces of Rhythm, and then another Mr. Mitchell ballet to a Bach piece, I forget the name of the ballet, but we're
doing the
school
Greatest too,
kids,
aren't they?
and the Greatest,
Yes.
which is very special to me because the Greatest was on that program that I saw when I was 8. And then at Mr. Mitchell's memorial, I got to dance.
Yes, I was there. I saw you. Yes.
And I was actually going to be dancing it in the season, but due to my injury, it's not happening. But the other really cool thing about this season is that we are bringing back some of the guest artists, they're guest artists now, but some of the stars of the company from before. Like Panika Jones is coming back and doing Firebird, and Ashley Murphy is coming back, and Preston Duggar, and you have Mark Burns, who I used to tell everyone I was his twin, and these people they're coming, and Dionne Figgins, I can't forget her, she's coming and doing Forces of Rhythm. So it's like we have major stars who are
What's also happening, which is so great, is the gala is turning into a homecoming.
Right.
And when people come back who have energies and they remember when they were there, their time there, their time with Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty epic.
so I know it's been a very long day for you, and it's probably not over.
Nope.
And so I want to thank you so much for taking the time out and to share your experiences. And, because you never know, some young person could see this and say, I could be Christopher Charles McDaniel.
Absolutely.
Or the first step, if not the next year.
Right, the first then.
Thank you again.
Thank you.